is just the massacre versus us understanding the people who built it. And these names have disappeared, which is why I think it's important to tell the story and carry these people's names and legacies, because they weren't just people who lost everything in 1921. These same people helped rebuild the district and made sure that it thrived, well into the 50s and the 60s. And so that's the biggest portion of it. And then even just the Black wealth perspective of it. A lot of times we think that the division came from the days of slavery, when first generation and second generation out of slavery, Black people all over the country built amazing things that a lot of our communities have not been able to replicate today. So with as much technology and even quote unquote freedom we have not been able to recreate what first and second generation free people did. And so I think we know very little of it. And so that's kind of what my job is. I think that every generation should have at least one history keeper, and their job should be to put the history in terms that their generation can understand. So I use music, pop culture, and art mainly because my generation, that's how we learned. We learned our lessons from watching Lion King and things of that nature. And so we have to be able to put it kind of in that same template, and then the generation under me should do the same for theirs.
Interesting. So let's just start there in terms of the DNA of the people that developed Black Wall Street in the first place. What do you think that we lost that they had? Like, what do you think happened that made us? I have my own thoughts on that, but I'd like to know your thoughts on what's the difference between an African American in 2024 versus versus an African American that lived in Greenwood in 1914, let's say.
Mm-hmm. I would say that an African American in Greenwood in 1914 understood group economics a little better than we do, but they also they wanted to support one another. I think that when you're bombarded with options, it does kind of cloud your judgment on what you spend your money on and what you do. It's similar to you just getting back from Egypt. It's one of the things, like when you're in Egypt, there's very few soda options. So it's easy to pick Coca-Cola every time, because it's the one you recognize and there's very few options. But walking into an American gas station or an American grocery store where there's 50 or 60 different sodas, you're going to spread that money around and try all of it. And so that Black Coca-Cola would be taking a hit financially. So you go from seeing 1914, they're seeing 200 to 300 people a day inside of their businesses. 2024, I'm having to now share that traffic with other communities. And so I'm not seeing 200 people a day. And so that's going to drive, just drive my income down, which means less product, less marketing, less upgrade. And so I just think the difference was also a story elders tell me all the time here. Papa Eaton is the main one, but he said that we used to be bees. We've become flies. And the analogy was, there's a story he tells us about, there's an old enslaved man who's driving a buggy and he's taking master to town. And when he sees a fly picking at the horse's ear, he takes his whip and he cracks the fly. And when he kills the fly, master says to him, he said, "John, you surely is good with that whip." And so John says, "Yeah, I reckon I get pretty good practice. I'm pretty good." So they keep rolling, and master yells to John, "Stop the buggy." John stops the buggy. Master points at this bee and he says, "John, I'm willing to bet you your freedom that you can't hit that bee from here." And so John looks at the bee and he says, "Well, master, it looks like I was going to be a slave for the rest of my days because I don't hit them." So master said, "Why not?" And he said, "Because them's organized." And so we used to be bees, and so now it went more to fly. So if you look at that analogy now, every bee in that beehive knows that it'll die if it stings you, but everyone in that beehive will come out to sting you for attacking one bee, versus a fly. Another fly will fly right over that dead fly to get whatever it died trying to get.